Todd Shapiro Show. Canada Laughs. SiriusXM 168.
In a much more, positive manner with the younger generation and sort of this acceptance of marijuana and sort of as we head towards the legalization of it. How great is it as the world's largest LP and with now a massive workforce, being able to connect to a generation that really gets it at a young age? Is that cool for you guys?
It is cool. It's this weird concept that I throw around a lot of thinking of people that come of age post-prohibition, the people that won't really know what it's like to not live in a world where cannabis is criminalized. Like my kids, for example, they're 4 and 2, and they'll grow up, and I think that by the time they sort of get it, they won't see a huge difference between having a bottle of wine on the shelf or having a jar of cannabis on the shelf. So that's sort of an odd concept to think about right now. But in 10 years, I think if you look forward and roll the calendar forward, it's interesting to think, that it'll be normalized in society and people are already familiar with cannabis, but also accepted, like destigmatized, so that it's not viewed as just something that's negative, but the positives are as commonly talked about. So I'm looking forward to, I look forward to that often.
That is neat. I mean, they won't even have because my kids also just in between the two of yours, and they won't even really have a concept of what people went through for years and what the process was like for legalization at that point. That is a really fascinating concept. The same way you would see Advil on your table, maybe just if someone took it, would be the same way you might see some marijuana for on your table.
Yeah. It's interesting. Format can go a long way to doing all of that, but laws and availability and sort of just having it out in the open, I think will go a really long way as well.
Wow. Tell us what's going on now in Newfoundland, because you guys got a bunch of shops down there, don't you?
We do. Yeah. I started the week in St. John's. I just love that city so much. Flew in and we had a couple of people from the team there, and we went out to this site. It's basically just a field right now. And we met some government officials and invited some journalists down, and we did that kind of cliched stick the shovel in the ground and turn the dirt for our new production facility down there. So we got, it'll be a big one. We'll do about 12,000 kilograms of cannabis out of that site, 145 jobs, and the ability to grow and to extract oil. So it was a nice little win. And then right downtown, we opened up we announced where our retail shops are going to be. So Tweed branded, they're looking good. We put some signage up in the windows, and it was just a real historic moment to think about leaving being an e-commerce company where we just sell stuff online, to actually thinking about our retail presence and the fact that people are going to just walk right into that store and buy cannabis. It was pretty surreal.
Jordan Sinclair joins us, Canopy Growth. What is this I'm reading that someone drew? Can I read this line? Someone drew a bunch of graffiti peckers on one of the shops.
Many, numerous. Yeah, a bunch. I don't know, what's the radio rules? Do I have to also say peckers?
No, we can say dicks. We're uncensored here, but that's crazy. So I mean, was that I don't know, was that a positive thing or is that a negative thing? I don't understand what's going on there.
It was those nasty millennials everyone's always talking about, It's just somebody got out there and drew a whole bunch of dicks on the sign. I thought it was hilarious. I was like, I have to laugh. So I was walking down the street in St. John's. It was 7:00 in the morning. I was like, this is a nice historic moment. I got my coffee. I'm walking up I see the signage and the branding. It's looking beautiful. I get a little closer and I'm like, what are all of those dicks? And there was 13 crudely drawn dicks on the sign. So we got to get that fixed.
Were they like a decent kind of fun graffiti at least, or were they? No, it was half-assed.
Total rush job. I think somebody it was the spur of the moment. They saw an opportunity and they took it, and then they ran. So
I don't know if I was sort of vandalizing, which I never have, but if I did that, Jordan, I think I would rather draw one good one than a bunch of terrible bad ones. I would focus if I only had a limited amount of time. I would make sure it's a real good one.
I think that speaks to the type of person that you are. You're just quality over quantity.
Quality every time, every single time. It's basically because I just don't have the stamina. So I make good first impressions. That's what it is. It's just good quality, and then I tap out. That's good stuff. And big news for you. We always love when you come on this program and you're so well spoken, and obviously you just speak to knowledge of everything that's going on. But you get to be on the national tonight. You're talking about CBD oils and how it's sold now versus the illegal stuff, and there's online dispensaries that are illegal as well. So is that do you prep for that one? Do they how does that work when you get on the national with this stuff?
It is. It's different every time. Sometimes they give you a bunch of lead time and you get to sort of polish what you're going to say. Other times they call you and they say, get down here now. So it's kind of different. This one, they came out to the site and it was a bit of a crew, and they let us know that they were doing a story about, online dispensaries selling CBD oil and making claims about being able to cure multiple sclerosis and sort of all this nonsense. So, I hope it comes across as the voice of reason, just reminding people that, there's a list available on the Health Canada website that clearly lays out who's legal and who's not. Because for me, I guess it's more about the patient. It's more about the person who ends up with that product, because right now, whether the law is right or wrong, if somebody buys that product, they're carrying around a liability, because it turns them into a criminal as soon as they have it, because it's still an illegal drug. So that kind of, that gets my goat a little bit. It gets me worked up. So I try to just raise as much awareness around that as I can. So tonight, hopefully we'll get a good audience around that. And there's always there's a weird anxiety between when you shoot an interview and then it appears on TV, because it's really in the hands of the editors. But that's sort of the gist of what I hope comes across.
Yeah. I mean, that would make sense. They can sort of spin a story any way they want. But the other thing, do you remind people that if you bought it through an illegal online dispensary, that the consistency's not there like it would be through a Tweed and stuff, where it's all measured and it's the exact same that you'd get from 3 months ago to today's type of thing?
Yeah, I mean, anything regulated versus unregulated, you're gonna find a lot more variance on from a black market or from an unregulated source. So that's certainly, that's a risk factor that's in there as well. The Globe and Mail went into a bunch of dispensaries in downtown Toronto, and they pulled 10 products, around 10 products that claimed to have CBD in them, and tested them in a lab, and not a single one had any CBD. So there's, this is just false advertising, which is another problem unto itself, especially if people are actually in need of something and want this medical ingredient. The placebo effect is only going to take you so far, and then you actually need what you paid for.
All right. Maybe a little bit of a tough question here, but just a real one. With these dispensaries, and listen, I'm the first to say I can't believe they exist, because it's illegal to do it that way. But are people just trying to exploit right now on sort of this next few months, and when things are going to really change, and are they doing it really just for money and not because they care about I'd love the advocacy. Don't get me wrong, I've always respected those who have helped make change, but now I think it's gotten to a point of exploitation because that change is happening.
Yeah, I think it's a broad group of people, and it'd be tough to paint them all with a single stroke. Some of the people in this industry I respect the most are the ones that open dispensaries to break the law and prove a point and serve people. But it feels now that there is a regulated system that actually is up and on its feet and progressing well. And it's not perfect, but there is good ways to access legal streams of this medicine in Canada. So yeah, for sure, I'd say if you just opened a dispensary a month ago, the percentage chance that you're doing it for patients is a lot lower than if you did it in 1999. I guess I'll leave it there.
Well said. No, that makes a lot of sense to me. And earlier you mentioned about the creation of, in Newfoundland, 145 jobs. Who can apply? Because when there's an industry, for instance, that really hasn't existed, is it some of those who are part of the former industry? Well, even like a guy like Adam Greenblatt's a great example of that, the wizard we call him. But I mean, who?
You call Adam the wizard?
Oh, he's such a beauty. Yeah. Do you call him the wizard?
Well, now I do.
Oh, he's
But,
the wizard.
Up until now,
Yeah.
I haven't been.
Yeah, Greenblatt's the wizard. We don't even know him as Adam Greenblatt anymore. He's just purely the wizard, and he is very magical. But when it comes to, like, you know, if people are going, well, I don't know, I'm not really from an industry like that. So do you get that a lot? And then what do you tell people? Say, hey, just what kind of other skill sets do you have to apply?
So we get people from the black market who just, you know, openly admit that they like growing cannabis, and we'll give them a shot. We get people from other sort of agricultural backgrounds. So people are used to working in greenhouses. They've got a lot of the skills that you need to be able to work in one of our shops. And then there's a lot of jobs where you don't need a ton of training. We can teach you how to trim the product and how to maintain a room and all that stuff. But that 145 is just the production jobs. But we actually, there'll be probably another 60 or 70 on the retail side of things. And we're going to do a job fair. I don't know if you've got a ton of listeners in St. John's, but June 2nd and 3rd, we're going to do a job fair at the Rocket Bakery to try and get some people to work in the retail shops as well. So it's all different types. Some will be in the storefront. Some will be back in the rooms. And really what we're looking for is a good attitude, like people who are just willing to go hard and to be pleasant to be around, and willing to learn. That's sort of what we're looking for.
Oh, that's great. So for me, if I ever needed a job, it'd be, you know, growing a bunch of chia pets in the day. Does that qualify? Like, can I do I have a chance?
How do you keep them alive? Like, do you get them
They went for like 4 or 5 months. They went pretty good.
We'll put that on the resume. You know, that is pretty good.
Awesome. Well, Jordan, we always appreciate your time. It's always sort of a nice way to end the week with you guys over at Tweed, and I'm always amazed at what you're doing and the growth that you're creating for this country. It's exciting times ahead, no doubt, and we'll catch up with you soon.
All right. Thanks, man. Thanks for having me on.
Okay. Good luck on the National tonight. I hope that edited well for you.
Okay. Me too. Okay.
If they don't, I'm gonna chirp you next time. We'll
have the clip.
We'll have the clip ready. Yeah.
I have no doubt. Yeah. I have
we'll remix
doubt.
it.
Right, thanks, guys.
At Jordy Sinclair, go and follow him from Cannabis Growth.
The Todd Shapiro Show. Canada Laughs. SiriusXM 168.